We are with Clive Johnson, CEO of B2Gold. Clive, welcome to Kitco.
Thanks, Michael. Nice to be with you.
Miners manage risk, but Clive, you've made a career out of it. Can you thumbnail B2Gold's operations with COVID-19?
Yeah, we've done very well, I think, in recognizing COVID early on for the challenges that it could present, both in Vancouver and, of course, worldwide. I don't think anyone saw it going quite where it's gone in terms of an epidemic, but we recognized early on and communicated very well, I think, with our employees, with the governments and the countries in which we work. And we all had one thing in common, I think. We all wanted to keep mining if we could do it safely. You know, these governments in the countries in which we work in, they don't have much of a safety net. You know, these are countries that desperately need the revenue from gold mining, from taxes, the jobs, all the various things that we bring that help their economy so much. So the governments in the Philippines and Mali and Namibia were very keen to hear us tell them how we could continue to mine safely. And so are our employees, including our unions. So that's been quite rewarding. I think we've done extremely well. We're still on guidance for the year for our production and our costs. But more importantly, we're running our mines very safely, and the cooperation's been extraordinary. And I like to think that's a real reflection of the goodwill we built up over many years and the way that we treat people at B2Gold, all of our stakeholders. So, you know, I think if you treat people with fairness, respect, and transparency, and which we've always done and tried to live that way, and I call it an extension of the Canadian culture. But if you do that, I think what you get is mutual trust. So our employees trust us, the governments in which we work trust us, and we've developed a very good working relationships. And this is when I think it really pays off for everyone. So I think that when we look back on COVID at some time in the future, I think governments and businesses and people may look back and say, what were the industries that were good to have in your country at the time of something like COVID? And I think the mining industry is going to actually look like it's been a very good player or good corporate citizens by and large in the countries in which we work. So I think there's a real positive there, and it's been a win-win. They've been able to safely mine, keep people working, and continue to support the social programs, environmental programs, and work very closely with the governments. And that's been an important part of it. Work has been a significant contributor financially to all the governments in the countries we're in to help them fight the COVID virus. And it's different in each country, but we think we found really good ways to work very cooperatively. So we found that has been challenging, for sure, but very rewarding at the same time.
You've specialized in stakeholder operations, making that work in some of your far-flung operations. Can you talk about COVID-19 as its impacts upon your operations itself? What have been the difficulties? How is this, as we're settling into this, how is it going to be like managing a mine and managing it efficiently going forward?
Well, I think the key is, the challenges we face because we are in three different countries in the world, two in Africa and in the Philippines. Logistical challenges, people movement challenges, all those things, and then of course the safety issues. Lots of social distancing, testing, hand washing, all the things that are being recommended around the world to help combat the virus. But it's different in each country. But we've taken some very positive steps. For example, in Mali, what we did was we turned the camp into effectively an island set up in the sense that we stopped bringing people back and forth from the local village. And by doing that, we were able to continue to monitor people's health with temperature taking and actually testing in terms of looking to find people that were testing positive and quarantine them right away. So, we're ahead of quite a few countries probably in the sense of the way we're moving forward on things like testing. So that's one example. In the Philippines, we worked very closely with the government there, the island of Masbate, the mine sits on the island of Masbate. And we worked very closely with the government in trying to ensure work towards lots of testing, but also early on working with the government to try and identify cases and quarantine people. So it's gone well. And I think in Namibia it's been a little different because initially Namibia had very few cases. They're starting to get a few more now. But similarly, we were able to basically turn the mine into effectively an island environment where you didn't have a lot of people coming and going. And I think that's one of the keys. And, as I mentioned earlier, the government support has been very important. In each case, in the countries we're in, each government deemed mining as an essential business. So there's essential services and then I think there's essential businesses. And these countries, because of the important role that mining plays in their economy, said these are essential businesses, and if they could work with us to do it safely, they wanted to do that. So, so I've been very proud of our team, the way we've risen to the challenge. But when you look at the experience of our group and what we've done for decades around the world in all sorts of different challenging situations, we're very good at solving problems, and we're very good at taking on a challenge. And this has been a unique one, but I would suggest that we've come through it very well, and I think we'll continue to.
I'd like to keep with operations, if you mind. We had guidance from you. We were looking at about 1 million ounces of production that you're doing. We'd like to get in, though, and then look at what production looks like going out. Can you firstly update us on Fekola, please?
Fekola's been, of course, a great success story for us. We're actually expanding the mill for the second time right now. That's on schedule for completion in the third quarter this year. And that'll allow us to produce 600,000 ounces from Fekola this year. And we're looking at around close to that average over the next 5 years of Fekola, and it will continue on beyond that. So it's our largest mine. But the other two have done very well as well. The Otjikoto mine in Namibia, it's going to produce around 170,000 ounces this year. And the Masbate mine in the Philippines will be right around 200,000 ounces. So we're looking at being right around that 1 million ounce mark between the three mines. But we're also looking at very low all-in sustaining cost per ounce of gold at around $800 an ounce, which puts us in the lower portion of the industry and allows us to be in an extraordinarily strong financial position today and going forward. But we have each of the mines has good solid mine life and good growth potential. Their exploration, which we're seeing a lot of good results there. We also have a good pipeline of other projects. And of course, we've been a very successful group in gold exploration historically. So we'll look to continue to find ounces and do accretive acquisitions as appropriate, and look at our development pipeline to continue to grow B2Gold going into the future.
I think Gramalote in Colombia is also another project that you're advancing.
Yeah, Gramalote is becoming very interesting, not just because the gold price is obviously higher, but we were liking the looks of Gramalote at around 1350 gold, and now we're doing the final steps to complete a final feasibility study by the first quarter of next year. So that's a 50% partnership in Colombia with Gramalote with AngloGold Ashanti. We're now the operator, and we're completing the drilling now required to turn it into reserves and complete a feasibility study, as I mentioned, in the first quarter of next year. We like the looks of it. We like the looks of the economics. The infill drilling is important. That's happening now, but I don't expect any surprises there. So we're looking at potentially a development decision as early as, I would say, the second quarter of next year, potentially with our partner, AngloGold. It has potential to produce over 400,000 ounces of gold a year. It's a very attractive project from the economic point of view. The most recent work that was done on the economics suggested the all-in sustaining cost could be around $650 an ounce, which would fit nicely in our portfolio. And of course, 50% of that production would be ours. The estimated capital cost at this stage, and this will all be refined and optimized in the feasibility study, but it's estimated at around $900 million US. But with the kind of cash flows we're spitting out and the kind of financial strength we have and our partner AGA, clearly both companies could build this mine from cash flow if they choose to. We're going to generate somewhere around $850 million in cash from operations this year, and similarly over the next couple of years, if gold prices stay at $1,700 or above. So we're actually at the point right now today where we are net debt free and a very positive cash position with effectively no debt. So that's a wonderful place to be. And as you look at other projects and opportunities coming along, not only can we have the cash flow to build those, but we can have paying a dividend now. We've already doubled our dividend that we started late last year, and we'll look to continue to increase the dividend, but also continue to grow the company. So using our hard-earned cash from producing gold to find more gold, fund building more mines, but also reward our shareholders with the dividend, and always stay in a very strong cash position.
Let's turn to the industry right now, and obviously these elevated gold prices. Not a lot of M&A right now in this industry. You said in a previous interview, lessons learned from when there was the last run-up.
Well, I think there's some differences to this market, and unfortunately, the COVID virus and the epidemic that it's created has clearly caused financial hurt and turmoil around the world. So unfortunately, governments have had to bail out not only companies, but try and bail out every aspect of the economy by pumping money into the system. One of the unfortunate negatives of that is it increases deficits by trillions of dollars around the world. And that, for many people who look at that, they have often seen gold as a safe haven against times when there is financial turmoil. So the last time gold was at around these levels, it was on the back of the financial collapse. This is a bit different because unfortunately the magnitude of this is greater in terms of the effect of the world and economies everywhere and every level, almost every level of the economies that we're seeing. So I think that gold is going to play a role for people as a safe haven. There's also been a lack of good new discoveries or development projects out there in the world today in the gold space. Part of that's because of the last 10 or 15 years, a lot of the industry wasn't doing a very good job in building good gold mines or running their business. So there was a lot of money lost in the gold space, not just because of the gold price. So there's been a lack of exploration and a lack of development projects generated. So I think the supply of gold probably peaked a couple of years ago, and that's probably going to be another factor that plays into it. But at the end of the day, I think that gold for many people has often represented a safe haven investment to take a portion of their portfolio and put it into something that you can't print. You can't print gold, and there's a finite amount of gold in the world. So I think that, I've never been a gold bug, and which means I've never believed that gold has to go higher. And I think that's important because I wouldn't want to buy shares in a company if I thought the CEO was a gold bug. In other words, if you believe gold has to go higher when you're making acquisition decisions or deciding on your budgets, but you fervently believe gold's going much higher, you might make some acquisitions that you regret later on if gold doesn't go higher. So we've tried to be very disciplined on the years of BIMA and B2Gold, some 40 years for me now, in acquisition strategies and not acquiring things that need a higher gold price and or exploration success to justify the purchase price. So when you talk about M&A now, it's kind of interesting because there aren't many great development projects out there. There's investors are nervous about people paying large premiums to take over the companies because that didn't go so well in the past. And companies like Barrick have set an example with the Barrick-Randgold deal where there was no premium in that deal. So I think that it's an interesting and a challenging time for those companies that really need to grow today. Fortunately for us, we were contrarian. We did the heavy lifting and built a couple of mines in Africa over the last 6 or 7 years when it was really out of favor to be building gold mines at the time because the industry was being punished because of its poor performance. We stuck with our long-term strategy, and we've always been good at finding it, building gold mines, and now it pays off for our shareholders. So we'll look at M&A, but we're not desperate to go and run out and do a deal. We've got great projects, a great pipeline of additional projects potentially, and a great exploration team. We'll see what falls out of all this. I think you will see probably some more mergers of equals, and I think that's good for the industry. I think we need fewer, better-run gold mining companies. We've already started to see some of that, and I think the industry is definitely recovering from the worst of times that we saw in parts of the last 10 or 15 years with poor performance and therefore poor share performance as well. So it's an interesting time. It'll be interesting to see where it all falls out. But for us, it's nice to be in this position that we're in because we did the heavy lifting when very few were doing it in terms of growth.
Lastly, can you tell us about the Rhino Gold Bar initiative?
Yeah, this is one that it's a fascinating project that we're very proud of. We've been involved and I think a company's been very interested in hopefully being on the cutting edge of CSR and ESG for a long time. And that part of that is looking at different ways to help communities and different ways to be good citizens in these countries. So one of the things that I got involved with personally a while back was the Save the Rhino Foundation in trust fund in Namibia. And the black rhino, as many people may know, is a very endangered species, and the only place it roams freely in the world today is northern Namibia. So I got involved and went up and saw the amazing people that run this and that follow these animals around and protect them from poachers. So I got personally involved in donating some funds, and B2Gold Namibia did as well. But then the people involved came up with a great idea, which was to say, why not take some of the gold, Namibian gold that we produce at Otjikoto, and why don't we use that gold to make gold bars and sell those gold bars and take the proceeds to work towards saving the rhino. But not only save the black rhino, but also these are community programs effectively, because in the communities in which the rhinos are in, it's part of the saving the rhino is jobs, creation of jobs, it's attracting tourism. So there's a whole benefit not only in looking to save an endangered species, but really helping out the local economy. And I think it's been a great success so far. And we're looking at 1,000 ounces of gold, which today is almost 1.9 million US dollars, which is a hell of a lot of money. And it's a really creative way of combining conservation and philanthropy. So if you think about it, really, what I find is exciting about it is we're taking gold that was deposited some 6 billion years ago in Namibia by an exploding star, and we're taking that historic gold and we're using it to try and help save an animal that's been roaming maybe for 50 million years. So it's unique. It's been getting a lot of very positive attention around the world, and we're very proud of it. So we're selling the gold with these beautiful gold bars through Kitco at a 15% premium. And the premium will be used to create more different, but more gold bars or coins down the road to make this a sustainable project. So it's very beneficial, of course, to the Rhino, but it's also very beneficial to the communities at a time when, with COVID, the timing here is very good, because with COVID, a lot of these conservation efforts, sadly, around the world are really hurting. So the timing's good, and from what the feedback I'm getting is it's been a great assistance to keeping up this great work that they've been doing.
Clive Johnson, thank you very much for speaking with Kitco.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.